Hey IDC, I'm Christy Britton, and this is Sara Cade, and Sara is going to share her testimony with us. One way that we can stay connected through this time of isolation is just to hear from one another. And so, Sara, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, where you live, what y'all do? Tell us the details.
Yeah. I am Sara Cade. I'm married to Joel Cade, and we have 5 kids. We've been married almost 17 years, since June 14th, 2003. I am the youngest of 4, and until we adopted my nephew, so one of 5 now. But growing up, I was an Army kid that moved around every few years till about 7th grade, and then we landed in Northern Virginia, where I stayed till my 3rd year of college, and then I moved down to Southeast Virginia. And I met my husband in 2002, and we lived in Virginia till we moved here. We felt the call to go on the mission field, and my husband enrolled in the Southeastern Seminary. So we came down here in 2010, and we didn't go on the mission field, or we haven't yet. So we just settled in here, and we have 5 kids, ages 15 to 6. We homeschool them for the most part. I had put my littles in this year into public school, but because of Corona, I'm back at it.
Everybody's
enjoying it. Yeah, we're all homeschooling again, or not again. Some for the first time, but I'm enjoying it again. It's good.
Good.
So, yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about your testimony. How did you come to faith?
Yeah. So from an early age, I can remember my family, we went to church. We were all in. It was the biggest part of our lives. And I remember loving going to church and worshiping God. And I don't really know and remember like an exact moment when I surrendered my life to Christ, but I do remember being baptized outside in a water trough outside of our church when I was 8 or 9. And when I was 11, my sister that was 4 years older than me, she got pregnant and had a son when she was 15. And our home life got real crazy and tumultuous after she brought him home from the hospital. And my parents ended up adopting him. And soon after that, we moved from Fort Bragg up to Northern Virginia when my dad got transfer orders. And so I started 7th grade, middle school, at a new school. And up to this point, though, I think from an outsider's perspective, our lives probably looked really good. My dad was a highly decorated colonel that worked as a lawyer in the JAG Corps at the Pentagon. And my mom was really artistic and creative, and she did cooking and house decorating and volunteer work almost perfectly. But things were not so great. It was pretty far from it. And by 8th grade, my parents stopped going to church, my parents stopped going to church regularly. And from what I remember, they would drop me off and I would attend by myself or maybe with a sibling, I can't quite remember. And we would go to youth activities. But by 9th grade, I don't really remember going to church at all. And without a solid Christian community, and now into high school, it didn't take me long to go to all the usual teenage idols, boys, sin, glorifying music and movies, materialism, desire to fit in, drinking, smoking, all those things. So behind the scenes, though, I now see that God was really great. He was really gracious to me at that time. And despite my world being turned upside down at home and my looking for fulfillment and everything that doesn't fulfill, God still helped me to function externally. And I still managed to get really good grades and play high school sports. And I worked part-time as a dental assistant. After high school, I started at George Mason University. If this was a book, which it might seem like at this point, this is a chapter I would call Going Headlong into Sin. Even though I was paying for my own school and through loans and whatever I made at work, I squandered my time there with excessive drinking and partying and looking for love in all the wrong places. And it was so bad that there was no way I could live this way and get good grades anymore. So at the end of my 2nd year of college, when I didn't get accepted into the business school or the nursing school, I decided to transfer to a small school in Southeast Virginia. And Disappointed in myself and feeling lost, I was determined to straighten up my life and pull myself together.
How'd that work out?
I'm about to tell you. I started a new year of college with high hopes, but very quickly things went downhill, way worse than it had been. And the sinful idols I had cultivated for years now fully enslaved me, and I couldn't find my way out on my own. My life consisted of going to school by day and waitressing in the afternoons and evenings, and then I would go out to clubs with friends 4 to 5 nights a week. During my college years, I went on a cruise. I was in a sorority. I always had a boyfriend. I did lots of spring break beach trips, went skiing every winter. I went to lake houses, went to Europe, went to tons of concerts. I'm not trying to brag. I'm making a point. I spent loads of money on clothes and college sporting events and food and activities. And that sounds like it would be a really fun life, but, and maybe some of the moments it was, but looking back, my life was filled to the brim with soap opera drama, anxiety, overspending, stress, stupidity, very dangerous decisions, chaos, superficial friendships, toxic relationships with boys, and loneliness. A year after moving down to Southeast Virginia, I started having health issues. I had such bad reflux that a doctor insisted that I quit smoking and drinking or there would be serious ramifications. And then I got appendicitis, and then there were the emotional issues. The boyfriend that I had this toxic addiction to was causing me panic attacks and depression. And God was getting my attention and fully waking me up to the meaninglessness, sadness, vanity, and futility of a life without Him. My afflictions in living a life without Him, enslaved to sin, and Satan were wrecking me completely. I had tried it all and came up empty. Through a series of God-ordained circumstances, God drew me back to Him. The medical and emotional issues got my attention, and as I sobered up and got a good look at my life, I saw things for what they were, and it wasn't pretty. I started going to counseling after a nursing instructor of mine suggested a book for me to read that made me realize my part in my wrecked life. The counseling wasn't Christian-based, and although I began to make healthier decisions, I noticed a profound lacking deep down that wasn't relieved. My roommate at the time and I decided to go to church together. I'm not sure that I would have gone on my own, so that was really sweet of God to give her a desire to go too. We connected with one of the pastors and his wife at the church we found, and we started doing a Bible study with them. Several months after going to church every Sunday, I walked the aisle to surrender my life to God once again. The freedom I felt immediately was so tremendous that I became an instant evangelist. I was forgiven of all the things I had ever done. An incomprehensible weight of guilt and shame was lifted, and I knew the lover of my soul in a personal way that lifted me up so high I wanted to scream it from the rooftops. That was in 1998. God was and is immensely kind and gracious. He brought me to a Christian community where I was discipled and loved on well in those beginning years. God had a lot of work to do. He still does. I was the age of 24 by then, and I had learned to live a life of complete selfishness. And there was all this baggage from the brokenness I had actively or passively had a hand in. So what has life looked like since then? Spiritually, it has mostly been a slow marathon battle with many victories and quite a few little setbacks. There's been a lot of healing, more fallout from sin, more forgiveness, seeing God use those setbacks for my good and His glory, seeing none of it go to waste. There have been, there we go. There have been, there have been many, many moments of surprise where I have been left marveling once again at how He loves me despite how bad of a daughter I can still be to Him. I still strive to fight off selfishness and pride, and then there are times I don't want to fight it off and get lazy until I'm reminded of the futility and loneliness of living for myself again. More and more, though, in the midst of this battle of living in a broken world and in a broken body that fights off sin only by the help of my Savior, there is peace and hope and joy and excitement for a future with my sovereign and loving Father in heaven that knew me before I was born. He knows my frame, and He shows me great compassion. From 1998 till now, there have been too many highs and lows to recount. Major highs have been finally graduating from college and becoming an ICU nurse, raising my niece through her high school years, marrying Joel, having 5 beautiful babies, getting to stay home and homeschool them, watching my kids learn to love and trust Jesus, and being at Imago Dei for the last 6 years. Some very hard blows have included my sister committing suicide, my son having severe epilepsy from when he was 1 till the age of 4, and more recently taking 7 years to go through the mission board process only to have that door shut. And all these things, I might not have always had eyes to see it while it was happening, but he was and has been right by my side and in the details. I can truthfully say he has brought beauty from the ashes. And from all of these experiences, he's brought me to a place of trusting in his goodness, despite whatever hard thing is happening. He's shown me the futility of trusting myself. I will never be enough, but he is. And so I keep on learning that I can stop exhausting myself and trying to pull myself up by my bootstraps and instead look to him for love, grace, wisdom, mercy, strength, and joy, which he provides in abundance. I love the Message translation of Matthew 11:28-30. Jesus says to me, "Are you tired, worn out, burned out on religion? Come to me. Get away with me and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me and you'll learn to live freely and lightly." Yes, he's allowed me to go through some hard stuff, but as he has promised, he is here with me, never leaving me, never forsaking me. I have seen him here with me in so many different ways. He's given me a scripture at just the right time to provide wisdom and peace. He's given a loving word from a friend at just the right time to encourage me to persevere. He's given me a sermon message at just the right time to convict a sin in my life. He's answered prayers at just the right time to increase my hope in him. He's given me a Bible study with friends at just the right time to comfort me with Christ's love, and on and on and on. He's worked his good and loving truth deep into my heart. Rarely now there are moments of doubt that arise, but within the minute I have a million possible reminders of all those times he's here with me. And he was here with me and has been. He's been a good father to me, and I want to spend the rest of my life glorifying him alone. He is worthy.
That's beautiful. You and I are women that have been believers for a while and have a little bit of experience behind us. And I think one thing we can both testify to is that he proves trustworthy. And, looking back in the moment, I loved you have this testimony of sort of like empty and vain pursuits and all these things that maybe the world promised you would be good and satisfying, and you see that they're not. And I love looking back and seeing the Lord's grace in my life, as I know that you do too. And you can see those things that you were chasing, they don't fulfill, they don't satisfy. Mm-hmm. But he does. And I think that's the heart of all of our testimonies is he is good, he is faithful, he's trustworthy. How is he teaching you to trust him in this time of coronavirus? We're all isolated. Like what's some grace that you've really seen him show you and your family? We'll just kind of wrap it up here.
Yeah. So a couple of things. I really haven't been super fearful of the virus itself, but more so for my parents who are in their 70s. And been actually working on Psalm 46 and memorizing that, and trying to lay that down, my fears for them down, and asking him to take care of them. And so it's, once again, a laying down moment, giving up fears and trusting him. But as far as grace goes, I'm really enjoying time with my family. We've gotten back to family dinners every night, which we had stopped doing so much. And we sit down and we eat and we talk. And then my husband's reading The Magician's Nephew to us afterwards. And we've started doing just Old Testament readings. And so it's been sweet. And the kids all sit down on the floor and do puzzles and just quiet things. And we've gotten into a rhythm. So I'm enjoying it. I'm just really enjoying it. I missed all of our family bonding time, and when they were little and we had to be home all the time. And now that they're bigger and we've had more freedom and we've been going, this is an enjoyable moment for me. So I am making the most of it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for taking the time to share your story with us. I know it's
Thanks.
been encouraging for me, and I'm sure for others too. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Bye.